Well, welcome back. We had a glitch where StreamYard decided they would end our
drop
show
our show
in just 40 minutes. So we will just continue where we were.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice Kirk is not with us now, but we're going to send him a link and try to get him back. Something that Kevin will do with Richard here in the background. So what we were talking about is that this says, how long will the restoring witness be until the end of the distinguishing, intensely wonderful explanations and astounding communication of things that would otherwise be difficult to understand? This is going to be literally the most exceptional, extraordinary, distinguishing moment in time, because Yahowah recognizes how much is at stake, and that literally the fulfillment of the next three Moed Mikre.
I think, sitting in this chair, that it is a wonderful compliment, because it is very true. You are a very good explainer of things that are complicated.
Well, I think that Elia and I both have a knack for being able to explain things that are complex so that they can be understood by anyone with an open mind. But God is going to the miraculous here. There's going to be a tremendous amount of God actually having this scroll that is above our heads, that will be portions of this Yahowah blog, that will be the captions for what we say.
Can you just imagine, like, Portuguese, Spanish, Hebrew, everything?
And of course, these the political and the religious powers that be are going to want to do everything to kill us. You know, they're going to hate you. The dead terrorist. I kill you. That's what's going to end. But we're going to be impervious, and we'll also have this because it's a time that you just have to make resolution. And many of the nitwits that will come and whether it's an Allahu Akbar, or Jesus Christ is God, or Hashem this or that. When they get annoying, we will literally incinerate them with words. So
that would be so fun.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I want to be there with a bag of Skittles and just watch.
Leah has spoken of this a number of different times. Anyway, it then says, then I listened to the individual clothed in linen. Individual, again, he is an ish. He is a man. This is Dode. Who, for the benefit of the relationship, was for the dimension above and beyond the source of the streaming waters. And he raised his right hand and then his left towards the heavens, and he made a solemn promise based upon 7, which is how all of this plays out. And in conjunction with the one who lives forever. That 4, and this is now, pay really close attention to what he says. He says, Moed, Moedim, which is 3 restoring witnesses to the appointed meeting times, and a half during the midst of another division pertaining to these 3 shortened lives. Then accordingly, the shattering, scattering, and separating influence controlling the set apart people will be over. All of these things will come to fruition. All right, so there's been a whole lot said here. There's been a harvest here. There's a time of terrible troubles that are occurring. And then we have this revelation that there's going to be, in the end, 3 full cycles of the Moedim. The Moedim, Moedim is plural of Moed, represent Pesach, Matzah, B'Kudim, Shavua, Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah. Those are the 7. So we're going to have 3 full sets of those, plus a half a set of those. That's the amount of time until because this now gives a concluding time. It doesn't give a starting time. That has to be calculated. It gives a concluding time. The concluding time is according to when the shattering, the scattering, and the separating influence controlling the set apart people will be over.
I know.
What do you know? What do you know?
That would be on Towrah.
Towrah. And not just part of Towrah, that's the second day of Towrah.
And the only reason I know that answer is because that guy right there named Yada knows how to tell a story.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know exactly. Yeshaya told us the exact order of things and what was going to occur. And then if you look in Zechariah, this is something that's near and dear to you, Kirk, and I'm glad you're back here. Sorry to have cut you off. We had a little technical difficulties with StreamYard. This wasn't actually on our end. But, if you consider how good StreamYard has been to us and how well it interacts with X and YouTube and with Facebook, what a delight it has been over the old Blog Talk Radio. So we're going to cut StreamYard a lot of slack and having a hiccup here. And plus the fact it's important for those listening to see how we respond when the technology or any challenge comes our way. We are in the mode of removing obstacles and being devoted to the cause. And if you think you're going to do something that's going to get us off our game, no, it's not
likely.
Not
likely. We've been trained in combat areas.
Right. So, Kirk, you have immediately gravitated to what was called the white spiritual chariot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanted to ride shotgun on that sucker. You've even written a song about it, Kevin. And that chariot's pretty extraordinary because according to Zechariah, it leaves Jerusalem to canvass the entire world over a 12-hour period, beginning at sunset on the beginning of Towrah to sunrise on the Saturday, the Shabbat of Towrah. And
save the date.
Yeah, save the date. Or better to save an earlier date, which would be the Shavuot harvest, May 22nd of 2026. But if you didn't make that harvest and you didn't make the Towrah harvest the evening before, then those who are not covenant, they don't know Yahweh, they don't know the terms and conditions of the covenant, they don't know their Messiah Dode, they just are sufficiently apolitical and anti-religious to be considered a possibility for cleansing, so that they're brought to Jerusalem to join the others that Elia and I have got to stand around the Temple Mount, particularly on the slopes of the Mount of Olives, as all of this will transpire. And so this is that white spiritual chariot that brings this remnant, the surviving remnant of Yehudim and Israelites from around the world. And so this is the end of their separation and their scattering. At this point, there is no separation, there is no scattering, and that's when all of these things come to fruition. So we know that is the end date. All we have to do now is go back in time 3.5 cycles of the Moedim. And we know this because Eth happens to be the Hebrew word for time, not Moab. And Moed is the word that was used here. Moed means to ponder the implications of the restoring witnesses and the times associated with these appointments, associated even with the eternal testament. It is among the most important titles in the Torah. And it's actually introduced to us. The first time that we're introduced to the term Moed?
Is it in Abraham? Talking about Abraham or not?
Before Abraham. Long before Abraham.
Bereshit.
In fact, a couple of thousand years before Abraham. It's in Bereshit. So is Abraham, by the way.
Right.
Creation account.
Yep.
For first 7 days, the times of appointment,
Fourth day, which is what day did Dode fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim? What day?
4,000.
Year 4,000, is when he fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim. And it says that there's going to be a greater and lesser luminary, and that the greater and lesser luminary will be signs so that you might be able to understand. That's the purpose with a sign. It helps you understand what lies ahead, that they're signs for the Moed. And so that's the first time the Moed are mentioned, and it is expressly dealing with the greater luminary, who is Gabriel in this story, who is Dode, the king of Israel, and his herald, who is the lesser luminary, who reflects his light, who is Michael in this story.
And one is a king, and heralds always speak on behalf of or give instructions from the king.
All right. So another question, fellas, is Towrah a moed?
Yes.
It is. Okay. And if Towrah is a moed, and we have the story of the greater and lesser luminaries, which would be the sun and the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there being signs for the moed, would you expect a sign perhaps relative to the sun and moon when Towrah
Like an eclipse or
is
something?
being fulfilled?
You mean like an eclipse?
Like an eclipse.
Oh,
And-
okay. Yeah.
And
It's the
on
moon's
this
turn.
and on Pesach in 33 CE, who was the star of that show? Dode, and he is the sun.
Solar eclipse.
Who is the star of the show on Towrah?
The moon.
The moon. And so what is the moon going to do? It's going to get in front of the sun,
Okay.
and you're going to have a full solar eclipse
Just to
on
be
Towrah. God's pretty
I
clever.
think God likes to be
Can you
funny.
imagine how much calculation went into making that all happen?
No, he's just funny.
Oh, by the way, on when Dode fulfilled Pesach in 33 CE, guess what there was?
A solar eclipse.
No, it can't be a
The moon.
solar eclipse.
I mean,
it's
sorry,
Pesach.
okay.
Yeah, it's a
Pesach,
lunar
the
eclipse.
moon. Okay, yeah.
It's a lunar eclipse.
Lunar.
Why?
Yeah.
Because that's the day that the sun matters. So it was a full lunar eclipse in 33 CE. You know, the Christian
always get that
New
mixed up.
Testament actually talks about how the sun was darkened, and they're looking for a solar eclipse on the 15th day of
The exact
of a lunar
opposite.
month. I mean, it just shows you how utterly stupid the
Yeah.
Christian New Testament is. And they're trying to, they're saying, oh, yeah, well, there was a solar eclipse on such and such a day. You can't have a solar eclipse halfway through a lunar month.
No.
Not even remotely possible. They all have to be in the middle of
Do you
the
know I've never
month,
seen
and
an
it's
eclipse?
a lunar eclipse.
Not
Yep.
ever.
There was a full one here not too long ago, but unfortunately it ducked behind the clouds right before it happened in the middle of the night, or I would have awakened you to it, because I have seen both a solar eclipse. I flew into a little airport in the middle of nowhere where it was going to be the epicenter of it. And to witness the solar eclipse, it was one of the most amazing natural phenomena I've ever seen. It will be the same phenomena that we're going to have on Towrah. Because it literally becomes night, and you see in the middle of the day a period that would look like sunset, and then a period that looks like dawn, with a period of night in between where the stars all come out. It is truly
Strange.
an
And the
amazing
temperature.
thing. Now,
The
does the moon
temperature's
come
amazing.
out? Does the moon come out on a solar eclipse? No, the moon is black against the sun. So anyway, it is truly an amazing sight to see, and a lunar eclipse is just beautiful. I mean, it's captivating. And the difference is with a solar eclipse, you can't look at it until that very moment when it's completely blocking the sun. And do you know why the solar and lunar eclipse work the way they do?
No.
Yeah, 400 to 40. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because that the
size matters.
moon, size matters, and the lesser luminary is a wee little guy by comparison to the great big
Great big sun.
grand luminary. He's actually 400 times smaller, and he's also 400 times closer. And so, if it's 400 times smaller, 400 times closer, that means the circumference of the moon and the sun are actually the same. So you have an absolute perfect coverage
Just right.
for your solar eclipse. And then for the lunar eclipse, it's the Earth's shadow that covers the moon. And at the distances and sizes, it's really a perfect coverage as well, even with the bending of light around both of them, which happens because of relativity. So it is a really spectacular thing. And of course, when you realize that this was all set up between the lesser and the greater luminary as signs for the moed, and you realize that the difference between us being booted out of the garden and Abraham and Yishak performing the dress rehearsal for Pesach on Mount Moriah in 1968 BCE was exactly 40 Yobel. Yobel is the time every 50 years where slaves are freed and debts are forgiven and you return to the land. Well, 40 of them would be the duration from year 0 Yah to 2000 Yah, 3968 BCE to 1968 BCE. You know how many years it was from that point to the time that Dode fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Mekonim in exactly the same place?
40 Yobel.
40 Yobel again. So we're making a big deal about this 40 times thing. 40 times in the size, 40 times in the distance, actually 400, but a multiple of 40. 40 is the time of an era of testing. And so from 1968 BCE to 33 CE is exactly 2,000 years, which is 40 Yobel. The reason it's exactly and not one over that is that there was the Roman Catholics forgot to have a year 0 between 1 BCE and 1 CE. There's no year 0, so you have to always adjust for that.
Since you brought up the
between. So they went literally from 1 BCE, which they call BC, to 1 AD, the year of their Lord, and they forgot the year 0.
Since you brought up the Roman Catholics, I'd like to tell you about what they would do in every Christian nation throughout the world when there was an eclipse, lunar or solar. They would take out their pots and pans and bang them to get away the evil spirits.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Well, it's not going to work very well. Well, actually, it will work really well on this because Satan is the most evil spirit, and his corporeal manifestation, the Donald Dumpster, will in fact disappear at this point. So maybe it will work once in a while. Anyway, what is 40 Yobel from 33 CE?
2033.
Oh.
And when is this Moed going to happen with the full solar eclipse that he's talking about, that all of the separation of Yisrael,
Towrah,
in 2033. So now you know how we know the timeline. And so if you want to know when the Shabuah harvest is going to happen, what does Shabuah mean?
Sevens.
Promise of
Seven. So here you go. So how many years would you subtract from 2033? 7. And so 7 years before the celebration of Shabuah is on a 22nd of May of that year. What day of the week do you think it's on?
Shabbat.
It's on a Shabbat. Absolutely. When do you think Towrah harvest is?
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
It's on a Shabbat too. When do you think we go back into Eden to celebrate the millennial Shabbat of Sukkah? That's a Shabbat too. So do you think God's violating his instructions on the Shabbat?
According to the rabbis,
by doing his best work on the Shabbat? Oh, and by the way, what day do you think that it was when Dode carried, first of all, fulfilled Pesach as the Passover lamb, which was considerable work, and then carried our guilt into Sheol on his shoulders? So what day of the week do you think that was in 33
That would be
CE?
a Shabbat. Yeah.
It was also Shabbat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's an interesting, just an interesting story. And of course, Shabbat is based upon the Hebrew word for promise and 7.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, according to the rabbis, it's a do-nothing day.
All right. So we know that that these have to be 3.5 cycles of Moedim, and since the proper interpretation of this period is, it's approximately 3.5 years, it is stated to begin. Therefore, prior to or thereabouts, Chag Matzah, if you will, in 2030, and conclude halfway through Yom Teruah, which is when the scattering of God's people will be over. So what we can deduce from the narrative is that pursuant to 3.5 seasons of Moedim, and in conjunction with the 3 who will be abbreviated in their lives because they live truncated lives in their second of 3 lives, in associating with these 3 Moedim, then accordingly the scattering and separating, indeed the crushing and defeating hand controlling the set-apart people, Yisrael and Yehudim, will cease. Specifically, the white spiritual chariot described in Zechariah will begin gathering the final remnant of Yisrael from around the world at the outset of Teruah, bringing them to the Temple Mount. At this time, Yahweh will be incinerating all who have come to crush the remnant. And as the sun rises on Yom Teruah, Elia is going to begin orchestrating the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, who is going to be, as we will find out in this very text, is going to be slaughtered by the adversary and by his corporeal manifestation, who is the Donald Dumpster. Now, this is all coterminous with the removal of the scattered people and the obliteration of their foes, making this moment halfway through the first of the final 3 Moedim a perfect fit for this narrative. And in this scenario, we should be seeking absolute compliance with Chatzah as it pertains to the commitment of this time. So we should expect that the 2 witnesses would arrive on the 14th day of Abib as the sun rises on a Thursday, April 18th, 2030, which, while still Passover, is the day after the Pesach meal is consumed, which means that, as you pointed out last time, Elia ain't coming to dinner. He is going to be having dinner with Dad in heaven. And it will be sent down, still Passover, but that next day. And this is when Elia and Yada will have the opportunity to dazzle the folks with understanding, really, of God's plan. And it's an elegant solution to all of this. So from this perspective, Dod as Gabriel is revealing and Makael as Yada is explaining that 3.5 annual cycles of Moedim will transpire prior to this very favorable resolution on behalf of God's people, setting up his return. With Yom Teruah denoting the conclusion of the time of troubles and the ingathering of Yisrael, the arrival of the witnesses will occur in Abib of 2030, with the first of Abib, as I've shared, occurring on the 4th, observationally. Passover dinner will be observed after sunset, the evening of the 17th at sundown, with sunrise being a Thursday, the 18th of April, still Pesach. And that will be the arrival of the 2 witnesses. Thereafter, everything will come to fruition. And there's a lot to happen. Now, this is the most exacting explanation for referencing this exceptionally important presentation of Moedim with Chatzah. And this case, the final 3.5 cycles of the Moedim will begin with Chag Matzah, which includes the 3 Dod personally fulfilled, specifically Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim. Then once Yahweh returns his scattered flock early during Teruah, he can purge them through the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah to set up his Yom Kippurim, Day of Reconciliation's return, with this leading the family back to Eden on Sukkah, when we camp out with God for 1,000 years here on earth. This ingathering will run from sunset in Jerusalem on the 23rd of September, 2033, to sunrise the following Saturday morning. Logic then dictates that Dod's return will be 10 days thereafter on Kippurim, making October 2nd. At sunset, 6:22 p.m. in 2033, the precise moment. Now, the statement made by the man in white linen, Dod, affirms something that I surmised quite some time ago. The time of Yaakov's troubles will be divided into 2 3.5-year periods. That's 7 all total, but 2 3.5-year periods, beginning on Shabbat in 2026, which affirms this because it means sevens. And while things will become increasingly difficult for Israel and Jews beginning in May 2026, comprising a 7-year period of oppression for Israel, the worst will be concentrated towards the end. And this means that the fulfillment of Shabuah and this harvest will be at the commencement of the time of Yaakov's troubles on May 22nd, 2026, while the Teruah gleaning and sacrifice will transpire upon its conclusion, making it between sunset on September 23rd and sunrise on the 24th in 2023, which is what we surmised when we studied what Yeshayah revealed in the 17th and 18th chapters. So we should not be surprised that Dode encapsulated the moment that his herald will arrive and the time that the scattering and the crushing of his beloved Yisrael will kala cease. This is because he was actually the first to gather the Israelites into a nation, and he was the last to protect them from every foe, particularly from the Philistines. Further, while he is the right hand of Yahweh, his Bashar is his right hand and will serve in that role forevermore. As a result of the Adamah Parah on Yom Teruah, Yahweh and his people will no longer be nafat, separated, as he and his covenant family will walk through eternity hand in hand. Now, considering what is revealed next, we must approach all of this with the utmost respect. The appropriate urgency, time is quickly running out. And I listened, but I did not understand, is what Daniel said. So I said, "Dear sir, what is the result of all of these things? Why are we doing this?" And he said, "Daniel, just go. Walk through your own life, Daniel. And these words, they're sealed up. They're enclosed. They're stamped for another time, until the time of the final witness at the very end. In other words, Daniel, this ain't for you."
You know,
Recorded.
Nice,
Stay in your lane, Daniel.
nice question. Good, yeah,
Stay in your
good
lane,
question.
Daniel.
Stay in your lane. Write this stuff down. It's not for you to understand. So it is the responsibility of the restoring witness in the end, and the very end, to explain what we are witnessing in these words, and that is why this prophecy has been fulfilled these last 2 weeks. That's why this is so important.
This book had a time lock on it.
It did. It had a time lock on it.
Yep.
And this is why I wanted to go back and I wanted to go over this material. We went over this material and we've been further in it in our last program, but I thought it was essential we go back to it. This is the unlocking of one of the most important prophecies pursuant to our time and our salvation and our relationship with Yisrael and with Yahweh and with our king, with Dode, and people's understanding of who this restoring witness is. Who is Michael and why is he important at this time?
I think it's also important to remember what Daniel means. God judges.
Yeah, God judges.
Mhm.
It's actually my God judges. A great many, by the way, he's going to delegate that too. That's something we find later in this testimony. A great many, this is encouraging news, numerous and important individuals, an undisclosed but significant quantity of worthy people will be purged of prevailing influences and cleansed as a result of choosing to examine religious and political constraints, independently purified as white as a result of avoiding societal pressures, and thus they will be refined, benefiting from having been tested and proven right. What a wonderful statement. But, you know, if we hadn't understood what Yashaya said about the Adamah Parah twice as he was ascribing him to the Choder and to the fulfillment of Teruah, would have been able to understand this. If we hadn't tied that into and gone immediately to Numbers 19 with the Adamah Parah, and then go and revive the story of Eliah serving in this capacity, and then to see how that applies to the adulterous woman of Numbers 5, without all of that insight, even without having God's entire story put together and framed, this isn't possible. You can't understand this. No. And yet when you know all of this, every word of this just soars.
Time lock.
Yes. So the time lock has now been removed. A great many people, which is really encouraging for us. That means a lot of people and worthy people are going to be purged. That's the whole purpose of those fires and that torrent of water that's dancing off the Temple Mount beneath the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah. That's fire that is singeing and purging, as well as Eliah explains precisely what's happening here. And, you know, this is a sacrifice for us for a very important reason. what God is trying to explain to his people who are there is that the thing that he was looking for all the time is what finally happened with Abraham for one brief moment, and what happened also with his beloved son Dowd. And that is the willingness to give it all, the willingness to see it through, to be steadfast, to actually trust Yahowah, to make your trust in Yahowah real, so that you're so reliant and so confident in who Yahowah is and what he has promised that you will lay it all on the line. You'll give up your life to honor and to demonstrate that trust. That is what God is showing his people that they should have done. And as a result of somebody being willing to do that, they're going to understand. Israel's going to say, oh, this is what we've missed all of this time, is that God was offering us something that is so much more valuable than our mortal lives. An eternity with him. And that is the whole idea of this Adam Parah, the sacrifice. God is saying, I want someone to demonstrate to you that there is something exceedingly more valuable than your mortal life. And that the only way that you're going to get that is to trust me to provide it for you. And when they see this guy do that has been impervious, that he you can shoot him with drop a Moab from a B-2 and he's just going to laugh at you. That's how resilient he has been. And you're going to see this guy put it all on the line. Say to all of the protective Malach that have been with him, the 7 spirits of Yahowah, all stand down, stand aside. I'm going to demonstrate what God's wanted demonstrated since the beginning.
How to trust, yeah.
And that is the story. And so as a result of this, the people with the ash and the fire and the waters are going to be purged. The adulterous woman is purified. She's cleansed. She's prepared
She needs a
to
bath.
be betrothed to Dowd. Her religion's scum is being scoured away. She's being independently purified in white. White, that's the white chariot. That's the ones that are brought here. And thus, she's going to be refined and benefiting from having been proven and tested right. However, of those who will be condemned for acting inappropriately, perpetrating religious and political crimes, none of the religious will make the connections to understand. Even here now at the very last moment, there's still going to be those who are religious and, Hasheming this or Jesus Christ that or Allah Akbar, and they're never going to understand. And at this very moment, goodbye, incinerated, you're done. You didn't understand, you were given every opportunity, it's just over. We're not going into the millennial Shabbat with religious freaks or political pundits. God's not going to do that. He's not going to tolerate it. And yet the ones with insight who are discerning, demonstrating the capacity to be observant and circumspect, the shakal, will assimilate all of this evidence in time to appreciate these proper conclusions. And that's why we're here. That's what we're sharing. That's the whole point of all of this, is to assimilate the evidence and to form the proper conclusion. Which means everyone who is going to benefit from the covenant and from being purged and spared in this day and perfected, it's going to happen up here. You're going to have to assimilate the evidence, take the time to appreciate the proper conclusion. But why wait to this day?
Yeah.
After most of the lives on this planet have been snuffed out. Why wait to this day to do that? You can invest the time right now. We're here. The 5 of us are all here bringing this program to you for the specific reason that we have put in the time. And we have drawn the appropriate conclusions. In fact, Kirk just did we've just presented a Sir Shorts, a Kevin Shorts on the Captain Kirk test.
We did?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that, but we actually have the short that's on the Captain Kirk test of how you determine if a word is positive or negative,
Oh, cool.
and the lean of the letter. So, thinking about it, putting it together, being perceptive, and responding appropriately.
Well,
So this statement is actually far more important than establishing the dates. It adroitly explains the purpose of the Adam of Perah and the Zebo men Edom, this man from Edom who saves many. The intent of his sacrifice is to purge the religious and to cleanse the political of their guilt. So once refined, they're ready to meet their king and to be addressed by God for the first time in 3,470 years.
Sounds good to me.
And it's been 3,000 years for Dode and 3,480 years since Yahweh last spoke to Yehudim. So it is then, after the fulfillment of the promise of 7 on May 22nd, 2026, that in our absence, Hasatan's corporeal presence will be announced. And he's going to say, I'm God. He's going to fulfill Yeshayah's prophecy in the 14th chapter of Isaiah about Halal ben Shakar. And in a moment, we're going to know this date as well. So this goes, so because from before this period and out of this time, the constant and enduring will be removed, and they will be taken away by the exertion of a tremendous force. So we know that there's going to be a harvest associated with this. There are two of them, Shabbat and Towrah, is when that God's constant and enduring, the very people that are associated with the Yahowah blog that are bringing you these programs and everything associated with it, they're going to be removed. They're going to be taken away by God, who is going to exert the force necessary to transition all of us from mortal beings with bodies to being empowered and enriched spiritual beings akin to light.
3-dimensional to 7-dimensional beings, that's going to take a hell of a lot of force.
That is going to take some serious energy.
You know anything about physics?
Yep. So because from before this period and out of this time, so to keep those out of this time now, that means that he is actually speaking of the Shabbat harvest, because you're at the end of the time and you've gone through the time by Towrah. So because from before this period, before the time of Yaakov's troubles, Shabbat harvest, and out of this time, the constant enduring, the continuous and unceasing, the unremitting, the enduring,
the relentless.
We're not giving up. I mean, that's just the nature of it. We obstacles
why?
may come. We'll have the naysayers, and we're just going to continue. You are not going to run us away.
I think there's a good reason why we don't care about your opinion.
No, we really don't. We're going to be removed and taken away by a great force. Then the lifeless, devastating, and appalling abomination will be offered. It's going to be appointed. It's going to be brought into effect for 1,290 days.
So the dumpster's going to be the man.
Dumpster's going to say, I, Donald Dumpster, in God.
Woo-hoo.
Yep,
What an ugly day that's going to be.
He's going to do more than saddle up to Satan on that day. He's going to be the living manifestation of Satan. Now, this is a depiction of the Shabbat harvest prior to the time of troubles. And Yahweh is sure removing those who have been timid, constant, and steadfast. With the covenant family withdrawn, Satan's corporeal manifestation, who I have dubbed as the Torahless one, will be making a mess of things. We should expect that he will say and do that which will be shamim, appalling and desolating, as well as damning. And he will impose all manner of shukuts, vile religious filth. And the crime of crimes, and this essence was the essence of religion, and it's where Satan claims to be God, as he has really in Christianity and Judaism and in Islam. But it's going to be adroit this time. Nothing is deadlier or more damning.
So this is all getting very serious.
So it can't be more serious. So with this being Gabriel Dode speaking and Michael Yada interpreting, they have provided a number of definitive clues with Shamim. It presents that which causes widespread desolation and devastation, both horrifying and terrifying, indeed stupefying. Further, Shakutz is a crime that is religious in nature. It is being offered at a specific time such that the devastating religious edict endures exactly 1,290 days, which is just over 3.5 years, thereby overlapping the time which has previously been stated with the arrival of the witnesses. It's slightly longer than that time. More precisely, rather than 3.5 iterations of the Moedim, 1,290 days is just shy of 2 weeks beyond 3.5 solar years. Therefore, we should work backwards from Satan's undoing on Shavuot. This conclusion is reinforced by what we have already determined with the 2 witnesses arriving 3.5 Moedim prior to the day of the herald, which puts Michael and Elia in Jerusalem on the 14th of Abib during Pesach Passover in year 5997 Yah, which is a Thursday, April 18th, 2030. Therefore, our end date will still be the Saturday morning, September 24th in 2033. We rewind the prophetic clock from there. When we do, we discover that this appalling religious edict will be offered by the Torahless one on the 1,290 days earlier, the 15th of March. The 15th of March in 2030. And it's the Muslim day of prayer, of course. But that isn't just an ordinary day. This is now 33 days prior to the witnesses' arrival. 3 being important. There's 3 sets of 2,000-year periods of 40 Yobels throughout the process. And there are 3 people delivering this message, the 3 most important players in the end. So this day is interesting because March 15th. You ever heard of anything that happened on March 15th?
The Ides of March?
The Ides of March. You are the winner. You are absolutely correct. That March 15th is the Ides of March. It's one of the most famous dates in history. It is the 15th, was on the 15th of March in 44 BCE, when the most influential of Romans, and Romans are as important to this because that's the beast that metastasized into the Roman Catholic Church. When the most influential of all Romans, the Emperor Julius Caesar, was murdered after claiming to be supreme ruler of Rome and God.
And God.
The exact same thing the Donald Dumpster is going to do on behalf of Satan on this day. It's the day that JC, Julius Caesar, was the man who claimed to be the supreme ruler of Rome and God. Therefore, on the Ides of March, Donald Dumpster will stand in his place as the veritable reincarnation of JC. And
excuse me while I puke.
And claim that he, as the supreme ruler of the world, is God. How about that for timing?
Wow.
You pull that's just wow.
I wonder if he's going to bring his red toga.
Imagine the pageantry and the pros and what the MAGAs, actually at this point it'll be the MTGAs, Make Trump Great Again, movement. They're going to be all a Twitter with praise. Based upon the preceding statements, which direct our conclusion to the time of troubles on Towrah, it bears repeating that we should expect this pronouncement to occur on the Ides of March. Friday, March 15th, on the very day Julius Caesar died. Donald Trump will rise.
Okay, I think I'm gonna puke. Can we play that funny
The
clip now?
Beast of Rome will be reborn with a fourth and final Reich. This is not the Third Reich, baby. This is the Fourth Reich.
Gross.
And at the time, there will be no one around to challenge him because the witnesses are still 33 days away. Now, adding insult to injury, March was named. You know how March got its name?
Mars.
Martes, yeah.
Yep. March was named after the Roman god Mars, who was the son of Jupiter.
God of War.
And the god of war. The Ides of March was celebrated during the full moon nearest the vernal equinox.
Yeah.
In other words, it's
Wow.
a replacement for Passover, and it is equivalent to Easter,
Ishtar
creating
Day.
the forgery for Passover. This day was considered sacred to Jupiter, the father of the gods, who was the Roman supreme deity. It was then that the Ides lamb was led in a procession along the Via Sacra to Capitoline Hill. Capitol Hill? Capitol Hill? Capitoline Hill, where it was sacrificed. Especially satanic in this scope of the counterfeit. This has become part of the Roman Easter week, now celebrated by the Christian church.
I thought they eat pig.
During they do have pigs as their favorite. During the imperial period, beginning with Julius Caesar, the Ides of March commenced the Roman Holy Week, which is what it was called,
Yeah.
of festivities and festivals celebrating Cybele, who was proclaimed as the Magna Mater,
Yeah, Sibyl,
The
that
gr-
was their girl, huh?
the great mother.
Mhm.
She was the mother goddess. She therefore serves as the basis of the Christian mythology of Mary being the mother of God and the queen of heaven. She would be the equivalent of the rabbinical Shekinah. She is also the Magna Graecia, a name which implies that her veneration was even greater in Greece. This may be because she was the secondary deity to Dionysus,
Dionysus, there we go.
upon whose mythology
Her
Jesus was
lover.
crafted. And so there we have it. We have Jesus and the Mother of God right here during the Ides of March. In this role, Sybil was cited in Euripides and the Bacchae. Are you familiar with the Bacchae and Euripides play?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
It's hard to kick against the goat.
There you go. Whereupon Paul derived his
I know my classics.
infamous line that he attributed to Jesus
Yeah.
on the road to Damascus. Oh, what a wicked web we weave.
Oh yeah.
And in keeping with our story, Sybil cured Dionysus. Remember, Paul was he was all beat up and he blind and crippled and all
Let
that
me
sort
get
of
the
thing.
scales off you.
Oh
you
yeah, it
little
was Sybil
snake.
that cured Dionysus of the madness that befell him. So back in Rome, her cult was advanced in the Sibylline oracles.
Yes, they
Oh
were.
yeah, the Sibylline oracles, from which Christians draw their fixation on the notion of baptism. That's where it came from. Further, Sibyl's consort was Attis, the Roman god whose self-mutilation became synonymous with his annual death and resurrection during Easter week. And of course, it was all memorialized in William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Therein, the soothsayer warns Caesar, beware of the Ides of March. Not long after JC was stabbed, Caesar Augustus rose as a god in his place as the Roman Republic became Imperial Rome and began a series of brutal civil wars. that ultimately destroyed the empire. And if I may add one additional delicious twist, Augustus became Pontifex Maximus of
Imagine
Rome,
that.
the pontiff or pope of the empire.
Papa.
Remember Trump dressing up as the pope? It's supreme religious leader.
I love it when they play cosplay God, don't you? Vomit delicious.
Wow.
So there you go, folks. Isn't that delicious?
Yes, sir.
The Ides of March.
More like vomit delicious.
So from this deduction, we can make a number of recent conclusions. Satan's advocate will announce that he is to be worshipped as a god and that he is the supreme ruler of the world. And he's going to be the God rather than a God, which, well, a God has occurred countless times previously, but he is the God.
No, I'm going to do my Trump impression. It's going to be wonderful. I'm so great.
It's going to be the biggest, the greatest, the best
Brag.
It's
ever.
going to be the best.
It's
The
going to be the
best.
best, the biggest, the best. Nothing like it's ever happened before.
When the truth is, you know.
A really big deal.
I'm going to make a really big deal for you. Biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing like it.
This pronouncement will almost certainly be made on the Temple Mount and will be seen positioning the Donald Dumpster and Satan as the one who is greater than Yahweh, the God of the Jews. And based upon what we see before us and what is in the prophets and what they have all said, the announcement will be made before a multitude of Muslims hell-bent on annihilating Yahud. Also, the denizen of the devil will be doing so on a Friday, the day all Muslims prostrate themselves to Allah. Not only would this be consistent with what the prophecies are claiming in Yashaya and in Yoel, and what they have said regarding this flood of terrorists who's going to invade Israel following the imposition of this terrorist state, the Islamic State that is carved out of Israel by this very man, the Donald Dumpster. The nation will become indefensible, and it would be harmonious with Isaiah 14's presentation of Halal ben Shakar, acting out Allahu Akbar while claiming to be above the Most High.
Allah's mouse?
Halal means acceptable in the Quran, after all. It is also curious to note that the Islamic New Year for AH 1452 will be 7 weeks after the pronouncement of the adversaries, of course, 7 sevens, Shabuah. Adversaries' divinity is announcement of divinity, occurring as the sun sets on Friday the 3rd of 2030. Therefore, Satan's Passover will commence 14 days thereafter, and it will commence on Ashura Day.
Of course.
Oh, beautiful. On Ashura Day when all the Shias are going to be cutting themselves in crazy.
Beginning Sunday evening, May 12th. In this way, the adversary will have usurped Yahweh's preference for his pilfered number. He will have had his own corruption of Shabuah, just like the Christians took it to Pentecost. He is going to have pilfered the Shabbat. He will have transferred his veneration to a Sunday. He is going to have reestablished a replacement Passover, such that it celebrates his bride, who is Asherah, the Queen of Heaven, and the Mother of God, who he will no doubt want to have sex with because, well, that's just what he does.
Yeah, that's Donald for
It
you.
will meld Christianity and Islam while robbing Yahweh and Yehudim. And if I might offer this reminder, the reason Ashura Day was interjected into Islam is because rabbis are celebrating it in
That's
Yathrib.
right.
Not only have rabbis long insinuated that their G-D had a rife, that's what the whole Queen of the Shabbat is all about, and their Shekinah. Shekinah is the feminine manifestation of their God. Mary, as the Mother of God, is essential to Christianity. Chrislam is what we're witnessing.
Gross.
Wow.
No, I really want to vomit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Therefore, although Mary's in trouble around the Donald because she was supposed to be a young virgin.
No.
It will be in the midst of this, right between Satan's pronouncement and his coronation during Passover at sunrise on the 18th, 2030, that Yahweh will insert his witnesses to rebuke the adversary. And this is likely why Yada was asked to begin his work with Yahweh by excoriating Islam and then Christianity. I will have been well rehearsed on these subjects, becoming the foremost expert on their Shakut's appalling nature. It's exciting, I think, though, despite all of the yuckiness, to witness the final pieces of this puzzle falling together. I mean, this is really, if you love Yahweh and you love prophecy and you want his words to come alive in your life.
It is.
Yeah, how do you get better than this?
Right.
This is
Well, even going back to unsealing, I mean, they have ceremonies for time capsules. That's exactly what Daniel was, you know?
Yes.
I mean, it was, so it is a big deal, you know? I mean,
We're unsealing it right now here on Family Hour of the Yahowah blog.
on a Shabbat, a lot of work.
On a Shabbat, when Yahweh does his best work.
wow.
True that.
Cool.
And, you know, we have on occasion gone back and reviewed material we've done previously. But I think now you're getting an understanding of why I thought it was just right for us to go back through this and for us to continue on this because it is so riveting. We are literally unsealing one of the most important prophecies ever, and maybe among the single most important for our time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people have attempted this?
Oh, goodness.
Millions.
Yeah. And here we are. So it's exciting, I think, to see ourselves in the midst of the action. And it should be no surprise that Michael is offering the prophetic explanation based upon all he has learned and shared while completing the 35 volumes of Yada Yahowah, including the 13 comprising Goddamn Religion, Twistianity, and Babel. More than anyone before or after him, Yada understands the diabolical nature of the Abrahamic religions. Therefore, and by the way, who was the author of the Abraham Accords?
That would be the dumpster.
The Donald Dumpster. Therefore, considering the people in and around Israel who seek the annihilation of Jews and the anti-Semitic nature of the Quran and Allah's demonic character, it's apparent that Allahu Akbar is going to be the calling card of the Torahless one. That's why he has embraced Islam in his second term.
Yeah, well, he likes rape. So.
He will declare that he is Allah. And all the rabbis who made both Islam and Christianity possible are going to applaud.
Oh, well.
They will
then.
even assist the Torahless one in his quest to live out the poisonous prose of Ezekiel.
Gross.
Now, what's also interesting here is that Leah was insistent that I translate and incorporate the 83rd Mizmor Psalm. And in it, it says of this group of 8 places that the Islamic terrorists are going to come in to ravage Israel, that they're going to be led by the Assyrian, who is a sodomite, a sexual pervert. And that the Assyrian is the adversary, and that it says that he is associated with Lot, who was involved in incest, as Donald Trump wanted to do his daughters, and he was a sexual pervert, and it says that it is the reason that he is leading this is that he's been offered an enormous amount of money as a bribe and has a debt to pay.
Wouldn't you know?
Wouldn't you know? 16.5 billion that we're aware of. And he's paying his debt to lead this rebellion against Israel. And it says that he's going to bring an army against them. Now, since the appalling abomination on Friday, March 15th, 2030, is the culmination of Satan's ambition, it doesn't coincide with the arrival in Jerusalem, which will be to set himself up politically as the supreme ruler of Israel and perhaps much of the world. The appalling abomination on the Ides of March is more correctly seen as Satan's coming out party religiously when he declares that he is God. So buckle your seatbelts, because today in the summer of 2025, we are less than 5 years away from this dubious day. Now, affirming
It's going to get rough.
affirming all of these assessments in Ezekiel, which serves as Satan's autobiography and playbook. And I would say that until I was able to deduce that and present Ezekiel as 25 ways to kill a Jew, and also extreme sexual perversion.
And Bronze Boy.
So extreme sexual perversion through rapes, and 25 ways to kill Jews, ending with the Copper Khan, Bronze Boy, being the real estate developer that is measuring the gargantuan edifice that will bear his name, that he wants to erect in Jerusalem, location.
Trump Towers ring a bell?
And so who is Bronze? Who is our Copper Khan?
The orange
Who
guy.
is the real estate developer that is
Yeah,
big
that
into
would be me.
naming rights, and everything has to be bigger than anything has ever been before?
The self-bronzer goat-haired
Ezekiel
weirdo.
spoke exactly of him, and even revealed that he's a sexual pervert.
Yeah, he wants to screw his own daughter.
Man, can you believe that? I mean, and here we are, the first people to realize that this is what the purpose of Ezekiel was. And there it all is.
I mean, if we ever hated him before, okay, but now?
The orange man, as the real estate developer,
Okay.
is the Copper Khan.
Yep.
Wow.
He's the rapist of that story,
He's the guy who wants
with
to
the
take your heart
grandiose edifice to himself.
Yep.
It's
grotesque.
just breathtaking, grotesque, but breathtaking. That
Yeah.
we were given all of this information, just waiting to put the clues together to be in. So, affirming these assessments in Ezekiel, which serves as Satan's autobiography, his playbook, we discover in volume 3 of Babel, that just one of Yahweh's 7 Moedim were going to be observed by the adversary. It's Pesach. And it is corrupted beyond recognition.
Oh, yeah, they don't even have a lamb on the plate.
Yeah. Chog matzah is otherwise ignored because unyeasted bread is relegated to an ingredient in the manner consistent with the rabbis. After corrupting Passover and eliminating the other 6 mikre, the Lord of Babel will substitute the Feast of the Beast, where Yada and Elia, as the final 2 witnesses, God's Gabor, and Dode, symbolically, are on the menu. The faithful will be celebrating cannibalism while the supreme leader devours their flesh and drinks their blood.
Gross.
Which Dode no doubt will find sufficiently irritating and insulting to call it an abomination. Satan's Messiah then institutes Ignorance Day, Do Nothing Day, and No Moon Day, the last of which would correspond to Abib 1, 5997. Yeah. 2 weeks before the witnesses arrive to pester the devil's advocate. So here we go. Blessed and delighted by benefiting from me, this is Dode speaking now, is Ha-Chaka, the one who continues confident and certain while cutting others into the covenant by being pierced. It is presented as a title, as he remains in close contact for the arrival, even as being tormented, afflicted, and violently stricken upon 1,335 days. On the 1,335 days is to when this beast will torment him, afflict him, violently strike him, beat him, and pierce him. Now, by way of review, we were told that following 3 1/2 iterations of the Moedim, the scattering of Yisrael would be over, and a great many would be purged and refined, while others would be condemned for their religiosity. Recognizing that this will transpire halfway through Towrah at sunrise on the 24th of September, 2033, 3 1/2 cycles of Moedim brought us to the dawn of Pesach on the 18th of April, 2030, with the insertion of the 2 witnesses who will begin their work, and they will culminate their work during this period. Following the Shabuah harvest, The appalling abomination of the adversary's apostle will follow. His diabolical deception will damn dunderheads for 1,290 days and conclude on Towrah with Satan's last stand. Working backwards from this pronouncement will occur on the 15th of March 2030 in commemoration with JC's death. Therefore, by adding an additional 45 days to this date and allowing the maniacal Messiah to settle in as supreme sadist, Satan's corporeal collaborator, will arrive in Jerusalem on the 29th of January 2030. He will have 6 weeks to get the politics sorted out before he sets the religious rules, such that on Friday, on the Ides of March, the day of the adversary's apostle, he will announce that he is God. So interesting enough, this will place the Torahless One in Jerusalem during Ramadan, arriving 7 days, of course, before Eid al-Fitr, which is the most celebrated day on the Islamic calendar. This means the adversary's advocate will be pronouncing his divinity between Ramadan and Ashura Day,
Gross.
making the latter his replacement for Passover. Even better, as counterfeits go, the day of his divine pronouncement on the Ides of March is the beginning of the Roman Holy Week that will give rise to Easter. Now, considering how all of this has been played out, there would be no reason to add the 45 days, obviously, to the aftermath of Towrah. So we won't have to worry about that. We're just going to focus on what we have been told. What is perceived as the sacrifice of the red heifer, of course, will transpire 1,335 days after the living embodiment of Halal ben Shakar arrives in Jerusalem during Ramadan, which we have noted is January 29th, 2030. And it will be in preparation for Eid al-Fitr, which is the day, by the way, that Donald Trump celebrated in the White House, which is the first time that he changed his tune on
About
Islam.
Muslims. Mhm.
Prior to Eid al-Fitr, this year, Donald Trump's had been consistently condemning of Islam. And now that he's received all of these bribes from these Muslims, and he's had these Muslims who are really nasty fellows, all come in who said that they rallied Muslim votes for him in the swing state of Michigan is where these people came from, which is why he brought them in, because they swung the state of Michigan by carrying the Muslim vote for Donald Trump. So they knew something before we knew it. And so they carried Michigan for Donald Trump. Donald Trump brings them into the White House to celebrate Eid al-Fitr, the end of Ramadan, and with the feast. And they tell him, and he then tells us, I had Islam all wrong. Islam is really a loving religion. They're peaceful. They just want the best for everybody. And that's when he changed his tune. This is the day.
Yeah, remember in his first term, he actually disqualified Muslim immigrants from all Muslim Islamic countries.
That's why so many Jews are saying, well, he's anti-Islam. He was.
No, he was.
Before he was demon-possessed. He's
not anymore,
not anymore. So the most celebrated day on the Islamic calendar, 45 days thereafter, we find that Allah's advocate will be pronouncing his divinity on the 15th of March, of Friday in 2030, which is the Muslim day of prayer. And the appalling abomination will transpire between Ramadan and Ashura Day, making the latter a replacement for Passover. Now, this goes on to say, of your own free will, choose to journey through life, traveling to the final destination. Then you will find spiritual rest, settling down and relaxing, present and remaining in your allotted place at the end of days. Daniel 12:13. So as horrible as all of this is, either Michael or Gabriel, Dode or Yada, is telling all who would listen, yeah, okay, this is really horrible, what's going to happen. But you won't be affected by it. if you use your own free will to journey through life, traveling to the final destination, then you will find spiritual rest, which is sukkah, by the way. You're going to find spiritual rest. You're going to settle down, relax, because the earth's going to be transformed on this day to the Garden of Eden. He knows all about it. It's going to be your vacation and retirement in the Garden of Eden, present and remaining in your allotted place, and the earth returned to the Garden of Eden, and in your role as eternal witnesses, all of us, at the end of days.
What a 401k.
I could really use a vacation. How about you?
Yeah, baby. So
Wow.
Yom Teruah is the end of days. Well, Yom Kippurim is the final rest day and the new beginning, where Sukkah is the time of spiritual camping out with God, the ultimate vacation package. So our journey through life is now complete, and forevermore beckons. So let's contemplate the possibilities by trying not to get too far ahead of God's story. And I want to return now to the 7th chapter of Daniel. We're not going to get too far into this, but this is something we covered, I think, briefly in our previous show, where we were able to identify the Donald dumpster as being this culprit. And it begins after this, following a sequence of events. I remained observant. Now, this is now the 7th chapter, so we've gone back in time slightly. I remained observant regarding this revelation during a time of unfolding darkness. So what he's seeing is the time of troubles. And behold, the 4th monstrous beast was the most fearsome and formidable, dreadful and frightening, respected only for being overtly oppressive, terrifying, and threatening. Genuinely horrifying and appalling, terribly gruesome, with an exceptionally powerful and preeminent military. Now, what I need to share here is something I shared in the last program. When there is the speak of beasts, these are man's animalistic natures, and these are nations, empires, and institutions. Roman Catholic Church and Imperial Rome being this one. When it's speaking of horns, horns are something that the powerful wore as crowns. It speaks of boneheaded individuals who are blowhards, are the Karen. And so Karen are people. The horns are people. The beasts are nations and institutions, empires and institutions. So it said it had teeth comprised of iron, great multitudes, including the highly populated and powerful. It devoured and devastated, crushing the remainder with its feet by trampling them down violently, celebrating while destroying them underfoot. But this one was different. By the way, before we even go past that, Rome was the most vicious civilization in human history.
They were savages.
Yeah, they are the nation drenched in red blood. They are the nation who celebrated their savagery in the Colosseum, which was actually conceived by the funds stolen from the destruction of the temple, and the slaves who were hauled off from Israel built it. There was never a more disgusting religious and political military culture than Rome. They were, from God's point of view, there is nothing worse than being a Roman, unless it's the Roman Catholic Church that grew out of it. This is God's vision of the epitome of evil, particularly as they were the worst ever towards his people. Between Imperial Rome and the Roman Catholic Church, you've got 2,500 years of subjugation of Jews.
Murder, rape, pillage, you name it.
But this one was different in its transformation and evolution from all of the other beasts which preceded it. 10 horns were extended from her. 10 horns. Now, 10 individuals coming out of what was Imperial Rome, the shadow of Imperial Rome, and the areas tread upon by the Roman Catholic Church. I was thinking about trying to understand what was with the horns. Then behold, another and final horn, a bonehead and blowhard, a worthless one who will be brought down, came up between them and among them. And three among the initial group of horns were dehorned. They were deprived of their influence. They were cut down, put down before her. Then behold, eyes, like the eyes of a human, in this one unique horn, along with a mouth speaking abundantly, powerfully, as an esteemed authority, arrogant and proud. This is Daniel, my God judges. Daniel 7:8. So as we know, Yahshua Isaiah was right when in the 17th chapter he foretold that the Syrian government would fall to Islamic terrorists and that sometime thereafter the refugees in Jordan would go full mujahideen and run amok. Further, we have already witnessed the dress rehearsal for the flood of terrorists who will infiltrate Israel after the establishment of this Islamic State, because it is just as menacing as, well, be 1,000 times worse than Alaska flood 1.0. And even more telling, as I share these words with you, Donald Trump has rescheduled a meeting in New York later this month, in fact, in a week's time, co-sponsored by France and Saudi Arabia, with the full EU support to officially recognize a Palestinian state. This is precisely when, how, why, and by whom Isaiah foretold this would occur. As he said, there would be an arrogance in America of somebody who pounds his chest as having the greatest military, who will be menacing and meddling throughout the world. The Donald. Therefore, for those looking for the Taurus one, misidentified by Christians as the Antichrist, the prophetic evidence reveals that you'll find this uniquely duplicitous, exceedingly arrogant, and particularly verbose politician in America, and currently meddling in Europe and the Middle East, and of course in Israel. But maybe you already figured this out from what we read and shared in the 12th chapter of Daniel leading up to this point. I certainly did. And as we survey the political landscape, we have every reason to think that this man, Donald Dumpster, will be favorably received in Israel, even while plotting against Israelis, as is the case with Trump. He will have made a deal with the devil, which suggests that he will have negotiated his dubious business dealings with the titans of Islam, as has Trump, with he and his family and associates already receiving that they have announced $16.5 billion in bribes. And no one has a bigger or more vile mouth than Donald Dumpster. Trump has both a devoted following who worship him as a god, and even more people worldwide who mock his every utterance. He is active worldwide and particularly close to Turkey, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar in the region, but also with France and the UK, Germany, all of which were formerly part of Rome's European provinces. And he is creating and destroying economic alliances, both favorable and hostile to Israel and the United States, such that these economic confederations revolving around the petrodollar are all plausible explanations for what we are witnessing in Daniel. So as a direct result of the Trump effect, with a new catastrophe each week and the planet in upheaval, this decline well, has begun, and it really began spiraling out of shape during Trump's first term with the draconian reaction by his and other governments to the COVID-19 virus, depriving the masses of liberty and livelihood. And it set in motion the destruction of the world's economies, taunting Russia to invade Ukraine and then arming the proxy while imposing sanctions has further bankrupted the world, creating a runaway debt while leaving nations energy starved and hungry. It pushed Russia, China, and Iran together, an alliance which will be menacing for Israel, particularly after Israel bombed Iran. Making matters worse, droughts and floods will continue to devastate entire populations, leaving many homeless and restless. Therefore, Yahweh is revealing our history, past, present, and future, because he does not want any of us to be left in the dark. As we continue to make our way through this, the 7th and then the 8th and 9th chapters of Daniel, we'll be confronted with history that is literally playing out before our eyes. And while parts of this story draw from yesterday, every nuance is poised to influence our tomorrow. The beast that will haunt us was born in Babylon. It was coddled in Persia and Greece, and then developed in Rome. It lives in its church, and it will plague the world as an amalgamation of these influences. If I may, what nation has a senate, a Capitol Hill, an eagle as its symbol,
Let's make America great again.
and calls itself a republic? And like that same nation be the place where the current Roman Catholic Pope was born?
Mm,
Isn't that interesting?
I think a 5-year-old could answer that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're no longer 5, but you did. Well, I was looking, then the seats of power were placed and positioned. The one who was old and aged, advanced in days, sat down. His clothing was white as snow, like he was dressing as the Pope.
Hmm.
And the hair of his head was like the hair of a goat.
Hmm.
But
Explains
plain.
the comb over.
His esteemed seat was particularly flashy because it was illuminated. The wheels were even burning and glistening. Daniel 7:9. And a shimmering stream flowed, and it appeared before him with several thousand attending to him as if he were the sun. But many, many more, perhaps some tens of thousands, rose up and stood to judge and condemn him, to convict him, those who were seated particularly. Then the written scrolls, the files, and the documents were released and opened.
Wow.
You think somebody has a sense of humor
Wow.
and has seen all of this in advance?
Open the files.
The trash-mouthed world leader has suddenly become more important and menacing than have been nations previously. And at this point in time, less than 10 months from eviscerating Israel by way of the two-state solution, there is only one individual whose ego is fanned and panned worldwide.
And who has goat hair?
And all the while, he has been rearranging the deck, chairs on the Titanic, just in time for the demise as he cruises full speed into dangerous waters. Yes, indeed, he has goat hair.
I hope he sinks like the Titanic.
Currently at 79, the adversary's advocate is advancing in age. He fits that part of the bill, doesn't he? You know, that was one of the things that we all had to get over. It's
Yeah.
all of the Christian mythology has the Antichrist as this young guy, handsome in his 40s, that is dashing. But no, the prophecy said he's an old fella.
Yep.
He's an old guy. Yeah, old guy with goat hair, with a big mouth.
And a flashy wheelchair.
Yeah, flashy chair, gaudy.
Girl, that.
Yep. So at 79, the adversary's advocate is clearly advancing in age. And while his suits are currently black, his pictures of himself are in popish white. You know, he just rearranged the cabinet room of the White House,
No.
and he put in all these pictures of presidents that he likes. But you know what he put across from him, the seat that he sits in? He
Himself.
didn't put a portrait. What do you think he put across?
Mirror.
A mirror. He
Oh
put
my
a mirror
God,
directly
no.
across the seat that he sits in, so that he can look at himself in the mirror.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh,
God.
the
What?
nastiest of them all.
oh.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
yep. Even his strange-looking hair fits the portrait. And perhaps that alleged childhood bone spur that kept him out of the military service as a draft dodger long ago will flare up and force the old man with snake skin into, if you've seen his skin lately, it is
Oh, it's
snake
so
skin,
gross.
to sit down in a wheelchair like FDR. And in actuality, this week, actually it was 2 weeks ago now, was diagnosed with leg swelling and hand bruising. It led to this diagnosis of chronic venous insufficiency, such that his veins are struggling to return blood to his heart and to send it up to his brain. Previously, I had unfortunately followed the lead of publishers' lexicons, which try to justify prior religious lore by inferring that Atik Yomim should be translated as Ancient of Days and refer to God. But this is a political setting among various beasts and political pundits. This one in particular is clearly identified as an Enosh. He's a mortal man.
Uh-huh.
And so he cannot be God. Well, he's going to claim to be God. Further, Atik Yomim speaks of someone who is advanced in days and thus really old, say in the range of 79 and will be 87 in the end. That would qualify.
Does it?
With MAGAs and Israelis positioning Trump as their Messiah, or at the very least, savior, he has thousands fawning all over him. They attend to Trump as if he were the last ray of light in a dark world. And yet he is far more to Hallel ben Shakar than the luminary of the sun. And this is why Trump has 10 times that number sufficiently informed, rational, and moral men and women opposed to him. And so even during his rise to divine status, there will be 30,000 or more who will sit in judgment of him, convicting and condemning Donald Trump for betraying Israel. Isn't that interesting as well? And so while Trump may not be impeached and convicted in the House and Senate, he will be condemned before the people he tried to obliterate.
Can't wait.
The files will be opened and the truth will be known. There'll be no deals this time, no cover up. And
No
nothing
s-
Trump says will distract attention away from his guilt.
That's right.
Quite obviously, Donald Trump is the Torahless one. He is the denizen of the devil. He is the adversary's advocate and the corporeal manifestation of Satan.
And he's a sleazeball.
He is the Antichrist in the sense of being opposed to the actual Messiah. And so there is no need to plead for the Epstein files. Yahweh will do much better.
I bet you will.
Info's not there anyway. It's in the Ghislaine Maxwell civil case.
All the while, the politically and religiously blinded continue to believe that the man who has lied to them at every turn, he even said he didn't know Epstein,
I know.
and he had no dealings with him
farce.
today. And he said he was thinking about or might pardon Maxwell.
She'll walk.
Yeah, turn while pretending that the man destroying their country is their savior. Such delusions may prevail because Trump's bombastic and abrasive personality and propensity for deception mirror Paul's, the demon-possessed con man who conceived the myth of Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
They swoon for the two men of whom the actual Messiah is most condemning. This is what makes Paul and the Donald, the anti-Messiah, now infamous as the Antichrist. What's perturbing, however, is that Israel will still welcome their betrayer, doing so with open arms. The nation that pushed Yahweh away, annoyed Moses, rebelled against David, would overwhelmingly elect Trump as prime minister given the opportunity.
He's hotter than Cyrus.
Even in the as the next Shaul, this all flies in the face of reason, because the prophets warned them in Isaiah and then in Daniel to be aware of this man, to be wary of him. But alas, Jews stopped listening to Yahweh, 35 centuries ago.
Okay, I grew up in the 80s and I knew that he was a sleaze back then. You think it's gotten any better?
Well,
Why can't they see
habits
it?
are hard to break.
Yeah.
Beyond his goatish hair and fancy wheels and big mouth, Daniel saw the adversary's apostle as exceedingly boastful and verbose. I continued to look, and it came to be then out of the voice of this horn, this blowhard and bonehead, a great many boastful words, arrogant decrees, big decisions, egotistical demands, and conceited edicts, all which he spoke. And I kept watching until I came to realize that a life was slain.
Yeah.
And its body was as if it was being showered with rain. He executed him, ruined and then destroyed him. So it was given to be burned by fire. Daniel 7:11.
What could they be talking about?
They don't have a clue, and neither does Daniel.
Daniel didn't know, and Jews don't know, and Christians don't know. But boy, do we know.
Yeah.
This is exactly as it's going to happen. And you remember when we first recognized
Yep, there's
that,
your guy right there
Yeah, there he is in
There's
white.
your guy.
Yeah.
in a wheelchair. Look at that.
Yeah, there he is, white in the wheelchair. That'll be him, except the wheelchair has to be flashy.
Yeah,
Gaudy,
this one's too
everything
plain.
is. But think for a moment how profound this is and how we are the first in, 3,000 years to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And not just figure the conclusions out, to understand this last paragraph. This last paragraph is filled with insights that no one could have put any of this together prior to, even we couldn't have put it together
No.
prior to 7 or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
You would never, the way this is written and the stems and the conjugations and the like, the person being killed is not the Torahless one. The Torahless one is doing the killing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would never have understood how that's possible. Why would there be an explanation in the middle of this that he kills somebody? Well, it's the second time it's been mentioned in this story. We heard it in the 12th chapter that he kills Michael. And this is the Adama Parah that he is killing. This is the final showdown. This is, and you might say, well, why would Satan go ahead and do what does him in? Because it is that sacrifice of the Adama Parah that purges the mortal remnant of Israel so that Dod can return as king and be married to what was the adulterous woman that has been purged. Why would he go ahead and do this?
Right.
You know why?
I do.
It's in his nature.
Why?
Because Because Yahweh gave his people a set of instructions. They fumbled it horribly, worse than horribly. It is to show Israel that you can trust him.
Well, no, that's why I'm making the sacrifice. I want to say, why does Satan go ahead and murder me, fully aware that by killing me, he's done, because the mortal remnant
he's
is
an
in spirit.
He doesn't have a
automaton.
choice.
He doesn't have
No,
a choice. You know
he's
why he
an
doesn't have a
automaton.
choice? He's a malach. He's a cherub.
Yep.
And as a cherub, a malach, he was created without free will,
Do
which
what
means
they're
when
told.
he went
That's
into
right.
the garden, he
Yeah.
was doing so on Yahweh's instruction. He was not misprogrammed. He was following his programming. He was created, you know, and Yahweh says, I created evil.
That's right.
He did. He created Hasatan to make certain that we had a viable choice, that we humans would have to think our way to God, and that there was a lot of appeal of not God.
No, the religious can't stand the idea.
So there you go. He is going to do what he is going to do because he's been programmed to do this. This will be his last act.
Mm-hmm. And Yahweh's last act is going to be incinerating everyone that comes after.
But you know who did have a choice?
We do.
The Donald Dumpster.
Yeah.
And he made the choice to
Yes.
accept Satan.
Absolutely.
In this regard. He's not just the one cuddling up to Satan in the South Park. He actually accepted a deal with Satan to stay out of prison and to reclaim the White House and to ultimately rise to this point in power. He had a choice, and he made his choice, just like Paul did and Muhammad did.
And he got into bed with Islam.
And he got in bed with the devil.
Oh, yeah.
So I continued to look, and it came to be then out of the voice of the horn, this blowhard and bonehead, a great many boastful words and arrogant decrees and big decisions and egotistical demands and conceited edicts were spoken. And then Trump did what he does best. He is the Hannibal Lecter of politics. He is the ultimate cannibal. He destroys people.
Yep.
And I kept watching until I came to realize that a life was slain, that a life was executed, was put to death. And the reason he doesn't say, I wonder who that is, because he knows exactly who it is.
Of course.
It's Michael, the very person he introduced.
Just
It's
before.
Michael. He knows exactly who it is.
Yeah, of course.
And the body was showered by rain. The Aramaic word for was Gisham, and it is always rendered as body because they can't imagine it could be anything else in this context, but it doesn't mean body. It means showers of rain.
What was the word? Sorry?
Yeshem.
Geshem.
It's Aramaic. And the reason for this, we know. If you go back and you look at what Eliah did at the ultimate roast of the bull, which he is reenacting, what was the thing that happened before Yahweh lit the
Gush of
flames?
water.
Pour the
Water.
on.
Said, okay, and then he said, okay, that's not enough water. I want more water. And he said, that's not enough water. I want more water.
Soak it down, boys.
Right? Soak it down. I want more water. It was symbolic of what Yahweh is going to release underneath the Temple Mount. It's going to shower the corpse of the Adamah Parah with water, which is going to continue to run off and purge and cleanse this remnant of Israel. And then he's going to light the flames. And the flames are going to incinerate all that came to oppose Israel while they're purging his people.
But not the Donald.
And so the body is showered by rain.
But the Donald
But
survives,
isn't that,
right?
but I mean, think of that for the moment. The body is showered by rain.
Yeah.
And then he is executed. He's ruined and destroyed. His body is irreparably damaged. It was written in the hopeful stem. He was compelled to destruction. In the perfect, at this very moment in time, masculine singular, this one individual is doing this. So it was given to be burned by the fire. That is the whole ceremony. It's the greatest show on earth
That's the ritual.
that
right there.
Elia is going to be orchestrating and serving as the master of ceremonies. The great fire that's going to, just as it happened 40 Obel 888 years ago with Elia, it will be reenacted here, but on a far grander scale for the entire world to see. His body will be given over to the fire. This is the sacrifice of the Adam Parah. It's just a wow. I mean, you just read this and say, amazing. And what it also says is that the one vision that I've claimed that I've received from God, because all my insights are derived from studying Yahweh's prophetic testimony and his Torah and making the connections necessary to understand and perceiving his insights and sharing them, which has been 10,000 or more. But the one time that I actually had a vision of how all this was going to happen is the moment that Yahweh revealed to us that you're going to have this opportunity to serve in this way, and you're going to be bludgeoned to death. And then just instantly, I was able to perceive how, when, where it was all going to transpire.
I'm still a little creeped out.
And
by
I
it.
knew at that moment that it had to be the corporeal manifestation of Satan that was doing this. And I shared that with everyone. And here it is stated here in Daniel.
That's prophetic.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So if one were to describe Donald Trump with a singular phrase, it would be Karen Mila Rab, boastful and conceited with edicts and decrees that are over the top, boneheaded and a blowhard. He is arrogance personified. Yes, he is the ultimate blowhard and bonehead.
With goat hair.
With goat hair.
Don't care.
And an old guy.
No guy.
The bronze boy.
Well, it is absolutely
Measure man.
That is in it.
Yeah, he's an automaton.
The
at this
bronze
point.
boy, the copper con,
Yeah.
who is the real estate developer in the end, that is out measuring this gargantuan, gaudy edifice that covers over all of Judea, with the naming rights being to Satan, is so Donald Trump. It's, you just go, thank God I translated that book and came to understand that. And it's by this time in the last quarter of the story that is presented by Satan and Ezekiel. Ezekiel's dispensed of. He's gone. It's all the copper con, this bronze colored measure man. That's the real estate developer for this
And he's got a
grandiose
appetite
edifice.
for some pretty devious.
Oh yeah, and
things.
he is a perverted, not just a rapist, but an exceedingly
sadist.
perverted rapist of children, of young girls.
You want to know the age of his victims according to the files?
Yeah, well, we're good. No.
14 and 15.
No. And so this is really, Ezekiel all of a sudden is just riveting as it relates to this. So 7 months ago, the moment I came to realize, as a result of translating and reconsidering Isaiah 11 regarding the choder, secondary branch being the parah, the productive bull, and Yeshayah 17 with the Zeroah, the one cultivating the remaining harvest, particularly Teruah, serving as the parah, the Adam parah on Teruah. That with the 14th chapter affirming that Halal ben Shakar, right in between, would claim to be God, I realized that it was Satan who would deploy his minions to kill me. And turns out I was right. Even if it requires some time to recognize the human manifestation of the adversary, as we're doing now. In this narrative, the horn is the old man and the blabbermouth with the wild hair, who is issuing a plethora of executive orders to rule the world. The Chaiwa, life that is slain, is executed by the old blowhard, who is now demon possessed. He is the Donald Dumpster. And he is the one who takes the life of this individual, and it is presented in the feminine, recognizing that both Adamah and Parah are feminine nouns. The reason, of course, for the showers I've mentioned, they are associated with my corpse, is Yahweh will be releasing torrents of water to cleanse the mortal remnant of Yisrael that is gathered at this time. And all the while, my executed and irreparably damaged body will be burned by fire in a manner explained in Numbers 19, and as was rehearsed previously by Elia 2,800 years previously. All when condemning, for the same purpose, Israel's propensity to be religious and political. So this is the sacrifice known as the red heifer, which will prepare the adulterous woman of Israel to be purged of her religious guilt, so that she can be betrothed to her returning king, Dowd. As for the Donald and the spirit controlling him, neither will die, but will instead endure an eternity in Sheol. As verification that these conclusions are correct, we read, then the remnant of those living, their political domination and dominion, I should say, and authority, especially their sovereignty, personal sovereignty, shall cease and be annulled, so that their lives could continue and be prolonged. You might say, wait a minute, what do you mean? But they're going to lose their dominion, their authority, their sovereignty. Well, the political state of Israel will no longer exist. Whether they be harvested from America, which is where about half of these people will come from, they aren't going to be Americans anymore. They will already be those who were anti-religious that will be here. They will be the secularists. They will be anti-religious. And since there's probably no one that is both anti-religious and apolitical, the only thing they're going to come in with is a little bit of a political mindset, and God's going to say, we're stripping that away. Yeah, you're going to be part now of Dod's kingdom. And so your prior sovereignty, your state of Israel and its politics, no, that's gone. So this remnant, those living, their political authority is gone. It ceases. It's annulled. And that is so that their lives can be prolonged and they can continue. She was offered and given on their behalf. That would be the Adamah Parah, the red heifer, as a restoring witness for the period of time at the appointed time of the year. Daniel, my God, judges and vindicates. He also condemns. Daniel 7:12. When we come to know Yahweh's plans from beginning to end, the riddles that have bewildered so many are solved, and we can celebrate the result as we're doing now. The Adamah Parah, the bloody red man, as a productive bull, will extend the lives of the mortal remnant of Yisrael. Stripped of their political guilt, their souls will be purged, and their lives will be extended, continuing during the 1,000-year celebration of Sukkah as we return to the garden. As for those who remain religious, they won't make the cut. They're going to be discarded as unsalvageable in the black spiritual chariot. Consistent with Yahweh's plan, the red heifer will be sacrificed on Towrah at sunrise on a Saturday, the September 24th, year 6000 Yah. And the Adamah Parah is offered as a gift, entrusted as a restoring witness to Passover. All the prolonging of lives that it provides, and Now all of those gathered around the Temple Mount will have their opportunity to come clean. It's the right time. It's the appointed time. It's the moment God and man have agreed to meet for this particular purpose. And here it has been laid out so completely for us. So it is Trump, who is the reincarnation of Paul, with his pathetic and twisted, irrational appeal, replete with Paul's psychotic personality and trash mouth, always ready to stroke his own ego, while continuing to demean his foes. He is not only disparaging, he's murderous. And now, rather than giving lip service to the counterfeit of Iesu Christo, Jesus Christ, Donald Trump will demand to be worshipped as a god, while destroying what is God's. Now, this is going to be celebrated by right-wing political types of Israelis and also the MAGAs. They aren't going to challenge him or defend themselves against him. Muslims are going to cheer on this denizen of the devil as well. There's going to be Allah.
All the lunatics are coming out.
Emboldened, he is going to take my life after 9 years of taunting and condemning him. But even in this, Trump will be eviscerating himself. And so it isn't the Torahless one whose body will die, but mine. And by design and intent, Trump and his accomplice won't be that fortunate, because he will be condemned and then incarcerated in Sheol. As for me, that's going to be the greatest funeral of all time, staged prominently on the Temple Mount. That's something that's so funny, is I've always told Leah and everyone, before I knew all of this, I just said, if I were to ever pass away before you, I do not want a funeral. No funeral, no special attention. Just, I'm happy to be cremated. Burn me, and we'll be done with it. Well,
and I was like, ew, gross.
You
what?
can't be burnt.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a premonition. As for the funeral, well, it is by not wanting it that I qualified for it. This isn't for me. It's for everybody else. It is for the living. So it's going to be the greatest show of all time, all staged prominently on the Temple Mount. Yah will be the master of ceremonies. God will be in attendance, as will the entire covenant family. Yahweh will have brought his final non-religious and apolitical remnant of his people to Jerusalem for the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah and Towrah. Yahweh is going to release the showers, and he's going to light the fires as the greatest show on earth extends the lives of Israelites and Yehudim. This is the fulfillment of Bamidbar 19 on behalf of the adulterous woman of Numbers 5. The red heifer prepares the adulterous woman for her return groom, who was none other than the Messiah and Son of God, our returning King. And so this says, I continued to be observant, and I noticed the things associated with this supernatural revelation during the night and darkness. That is when the chariots gather this remnant. And then behold, accompanied by clouds coming from the heavens, the one looking like the Son of Man. He came, arriving in this place. After the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, what happens? Dode returns, and he's going to come out of the heavens on clouds, looking like the Son of Man. He's going to arrive in this very place. Meanwhile, the restoring witness, now older by a number of days, will approach, reaching out as he was extended from the source to be present before him, because he was offered as a sacrifice to approach him. Daniel 7:13. Well, that's the full explanation, isn't it, fellas?
Yes, sir. Wow.
The words have painted a picture. And now we know that it is the restoring witness who will be the one that is killed by the Torahless one. And then a few days from then, he is going to be there beside Dode.
That's where our king's herald belongs. So
And you know what his job is going to be at that time? He's best man. He's best man at the wedding.
Right.
you know what I do wonder?
But isn't
though?
that cool? I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that after this guy dies, the Dode returns, and guess who's with him?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I get to come down with him and serve as best man. And then all knows that this sacrifice was made so that we could approach our king.
I wonder if there's a stand-in woman.
For
For the ritual. The ritual has to have a
the
woman.
marriage of Dode to restored Israel.
No. The adulterous woman must present herself before the Lowi.
Mm-hmm.
That will be Aliyah.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the woman?
Well, the woman is the
I get who
purge
she
of
is
Israel.
symbolic.
So I don't understand what your question is.
I wonder if there's an actual stand-in.
No, he's being betrothed to Israel. Israel is the adulterous woman and is being cleansed.
I get that.
Yeah. So no, there's no indication that there's a single one. No, when you're king, you marry your people. You're married to your people. And Israel is going to be Dode's queen. He is the king of everyone. And so no, it's the wedding is for all Israel. And that's the purpose of the celebration of Sukkah. So these words are painting a picture of what is the most important moment in time. After the Adam of Perah is slain by the adversary's accomplice, sacrificing his body so that the lives of the mortal remnant of Israel are prolonged on Towrah, Yahweh will shower his corpse with water while igniting the flames that will refine his people so that they can approach his son. Upon this dawn, the darkness will end. The era of eternal enlightenment will then commence. Our king will descend from the heavens upon a cloud, as brilliant as the sun. The Son of Man, manifest as the Son of God, is returning to his place, to the city of Dode in Jerusalem. His home is Yehudah, now reunited as part of Yisrael. It's mission accomplished. Now, the reason that the Son of God is accompanied by clouds is because Dode is now Elyon. He is like God among us. And clearly, nearly, I should say, is brilliant. He is, in fact, the greater luminary. And so on this occasion of the Moed, as foretold during the creation account and retold at the conclusion of the 89th Mizmor, the sun and the moon are reunited again. As our king returns home to Moriah in Jerusalem, he will be accompanied by his Bashar herald, the Ad, restoring witness, who has been chosen and prepared to reflect the king's brilliance. Well, just 10 days older, spent in Shamaim, it may play out like a prolonged Shabbatical. And now to support his king, Yada will be extended from the source so that he is present, also enjoying all that has been accomplished. What's more, Yada will be Dod's best man at the wedding of the restored Yisrael and her king. Now, before we conclude this program, and we'll put off what Daniel saw next, I have one last insight I'd like to share. Dod will be descending from the heavens, where his soul will have been incorporeal, bar Enosh, appearing like a son and a man. Now, this is significant because it means that while we are here on earth camping out with our Heavenly Father during the millennial celebration of Sukkah, our souls will reside in physical bodies. Although they will obviously be remarkably enabled and that we will be able to defy gravity as Dod is doing, even better, we're going to be able to transition between heaven and earth at will, which is what we are witnessing with Yada leaving his body of the Adamah Parah behind as he ascends to Shamaim and then returns as the restoring witness to serve as best man for Dod at the wedding. Now that is very, very cool. And
No rocket ship.
Yes, we are going to be in an extraordinary place and time. And God has painted a beautiful picture of exactly how this is going to transpire. I'm not certain, in fact, I'm fairly certain, guys, that in all of the things that we have revealed up to this point, this is the most detailed presentation of the events that are going to play out over these next 8 years that we have ever witnessed.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
And the two things, I guess, that strike me here is that over the last few years, and particularly over this last year, we have made some extraordinary discoveries, exceedingly bold, things that no one had ever perceived before. And it is those discoveries that made understanding this testimony possible. We've seen everything that we have proclaimed, affirmed in Daniel 12 and Daniel 7. That is exceedingly reassuring. We went out way out on the ultimate limb by making these claims about the Adamah Parah and about Dod returning and the relationship between the two of them and these fulfillments.
And about Donald Trump.
And what they, yes, and even about Donald Trump. We went way out on a limb. And we were right. And we were right. And it also tells me the second thing is we need to figure out a way to get Israel's attention, even Goy attention, the world's attention, to how profoundly relevant and impactful, insightful, reassuring, convincing this prophecy is. This is the ultimate story from God. He's telling you who he is, how to form a relationship with him, and what's going to happen over the next 8 years. We have a responsibility to get this story told. We've now had it presented within our family. The next step is to share it with the world.
This needs to go viral, if anything ever. This is crazy.
And while it may seem like we have hit a crescendo, what follows this is riveting and profoundly insightful as what we have considered thus far. We're just stopping because, well,
we're 3 hours in.
Yeah, we're 3 hours in. That's why we are. That's why we're
getting a little antsy.
That's why we're stopping. Is we're 3 hours in. So
beat the Wookiee.
The keeper of the cable says, I'm not union. I moved here, so I'm available. And you can just see him. His eyes are twinkling. He's got that expression on his face, like this has been amazing. What a wonderful spot to be.
Once again,
Yes.
we get to watch this unfold in real time.
Yeah.
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 We're right here in the center of it all. And Leah has remained bright eyes. Wookie, I think, is now napping.
he's back
Asher
on
is
union
dreaming.
hours.
You can just hear little paws are going like.
I've got that on video. by
Oh,
the
you
way.
do? Yeah, Asher.
She was literally going like this.
Yeah, Asher may be my companion. She's wrapped around my feet here, but she's.
You're dreaming.
Yeah, I'm not so sure she enjoys this program as much as the rest of us do. Have a wonderful rest of the Shabbat.
Oh, we're gonna play a clip
Ladies and
before
gentlemen.
we go.
Oh, do we have a clip to
We
play?
have
We have a
Clip.
clip.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
most people don't realize how prophetic that South Park has been over the years,
Yes.
and
Or
Just-
just cheeky.
just cheeky.
Absolutely cheeky.
So we're going to borrow it, and you can. I'm going to unmute the mic so you can comment while we're playing it. But
Okay.
this is so prophetic.
Yeah, he would do it with Satan for sure.
I think he already has.
Absolutely.
The two previous people that Satan has dated, Muhammad and Paul.
Yeah.
And Bar
Muhammad.
Kokhba.
Muhammad and Paul. Well, I'm not sure he would have bothered with Bar Kokhba. Bar Kokhba might have been a minor demon by comparison. I would think that Akiba and Maimonides were major demons. Hadrian, major demon. But Paul and Muhammad were Satan's prior lovers.
Absolutely.
Meat puppets.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was an
Comical.
extraordinary 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen.
That last bit was pretty comical, though.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Keeper of the Cables. We appreciate it. It was a long day, and I can tell you, we have some things going forward that will. There he is. We have some things going forward that'll just flat out amazing. I've sent you guys the full script.
Yeah.
I don't know what page we're on, but we barely made a dent in this, and then we go to the 83rd Mizmor. Then we go to Isaiah 14, which is the presentation of Hillel ben Shachar. And then we go to Daniel 8 and then Daniel 9, which is the culmination of all of this. It's mind-bending and expanding. And, what a thrill to be in this place.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Happy Shabbat to one and all.
A lovely Shabbat.
Good night.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Leah.